From the News Channel 5 Network, this is MorningLine.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Morning Line. Nick Barris here on a Wednesday. We have a good show on tap for you today. We're going to open up the phone lines for you. And as always, it gets busy with this guest because this is your chance now. And if you haven't done it and you didn't listen to my tease yesterday, go grab some item that you have in the house that you've always wondered what it might be worth. And I'm talking primarily here about antiques, keepsakes, things maybe given to you by your grandmother or grandfather that you've had there. And we'll try to take the description over the phone and maybe give you a sense of how much it's worth, or at least tell you how you can find out what the value is. And we're going to talk about it this morning with, I'm not the expert on this. I'm good at asking the questions, but Connie Sue Davenport is wonderful at answering those questions. Antique expert, appraiser, nice to have you on this morning again.
Thanks, Nick.
It's always good to see you, and it does get busy, 737-7587, but just to give folks, many of them know you. She is well known here in the Middle Tennessee area. We talk when she sits down about how you don't have to advertise anymore. You don't have a shop. It's just you, Connie Sue Davenport, antique appraiser. Here's her card on the back. It's just stuff.
It's just stuff.
What does that mean, it's just stuff?
It's just stuff. People get really cranked up about it.
Well, okay, now are they cranked up about it because, wow, this is neat stuff? Or are they cranked up about, boy, I have something here that's probably worth a lot of money?
Everyone's hopeful that it's worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it used to be that you could buy something and in 2 months you could double your money on it.
Right.
The prices were going up so quickly, and that was in the 70s and 80s.
Right.
About 2000, that party ended. And we still kept buying, though. And in the mix were all the imports, reproductions of everything we've ever owned, made inexpensively and sold inexpensively.
Right.
So they're in the mix of stuff.
Is part of the trick of what you do, and I'm sure you have an eye for it, telling the reproductions from the genuine article? And,
Yes.
and I imagine there are some reproductions out there that are pretty darn good.
Oh, yeah.
How? You just know what to look for? There are little telltale signs?
Well, I tell people I can smell the difference, but that's really not the truth. It's touch, and, there's always, I'm looking for flags.
Okay.
I think this may have been innate because I just love mysteries, and so I'm just always looking for trouble.
Yeah, you're just good at what you do. You know how to look, and if you don't have the answer there in front of you, just in your head as you look at it, you know where to go to reference.
Oh my gosh, that's
And
changed.
thanks to the internet. Isn't that amazing now? If you would, before we get to the phone calls, can you lay out there right now among some of the antiques that are selling, what is kind of hot, or what are some of the items right now that are in demand that are bringing some money? Is there a realm, or is it just always whatever's, it could be any number of things, it's just the old originals?
Well, it kind of changes every year.
That's what I was
right
wondering.
now,
All right.
when I go in to do pricing up an estate for people, it's not the oldest things that are the most valuable. In fact, some of those almost go in the negative pile. You're going to have to pay somebody to haul these off. But the things that are quickly selling are mid-century modern. So
mid-century modern
colors that people used in the 60s.
Okay.
Deep red, orange, turquoise, amber.
Really?
That avocado green.
Yes.
That we scoffed for so many decades.
Yeah, we used to have a big station wagon that was avocado green.
Oh my gosh.
That reminds me of that. People scoffed, but we liked it. I like avocados.
Yeah.
Now, what kind of items? Is it based on color exclusively, or what color of what items? What kind of things?
Well, the American glassware.
Glassware. Okay.
Is really selling quickly. Lamps.
All right.
Sofas. But more slowly. Upholstered furniture is always tricky because it could be smelly, or it could be in a worn color that was pretty at one time but not so much now. But yeah, mid-century modern is big. But people are buying it just like we did, or my generation did, was buying country, and they were buying it because it was inexpensive. You could, spiff it up. And people who are buying antiques are nesting. It's just before or just after you've had children. So you're in your late 20s, early 30s. And they're looking for inexpensive things to kick up the decorative aspect of their homes.
Are there some items that just always are going to be in demand? I don't know. You see deals sometimes, I guess, with you see instruments, artwork, coins, stamps, things like that.
There are always collectors for those items,
all right,
but they are not the ones that make the news, sort of thing. And you know, antiques have become a spectator sport because of the TV programs.
Oh, sure, they're so popular, and they've been on for years. I have a friend who is a big knife collector, knives, and I had no idea. He just came back a couple weeks ago from the huge national knife convention or something like this in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And I actually have purchased a knife from him. You know, not an antique one, but one that's functional and everything for new. But I was amazed at the monies he makes by purchasing some of these from the dealers, folks he gets to know, and turning around and selling them himself for a good profit. Knives, and it's a whole realm I didn't even know exists out there of knife collectors.
Oh, big time.
And does it have to be old again? Like because when we say antique, give me the definition of antique, vintage, what?
The official definition is 100 years old, and that kind of started when people were bringing things over from Europe. Okay. And you were taxed less if it were an antique when you brought it in.
Oh, okay, but. When we say that you're an antique appraiser, that doesn't mean you just deal with items people bring before you that are 100 years or older.
No.
Right.
No, it's all personal property.
Okay.
So when I go in to do an estate, you know, I do the sheets and pillowcases.
Right. Everything.
Everything, and they're fine antiques, and you know, the vintage Tupperware.
Vintage is vintage different than antique?
Vintage is kind of what your mom had.
Yeah. All right.
And so it's a movable thing, and so is the antique thing.
Okay.
But people call me a lot and say it's. I have to chuckle. They say it's very, very, very old. I'm not sure how many decades that means, but
it means something different to everyone, probably.
Well, when you're 20, very old is a lot different than it is to me. It was just a minute ago. So,
now, what do you mean by very old? Yeah.
But things that you buy today, if they're limited and in demand, and that may be what's going on with the knife dude.
Okay. Yeah.
Because a lot of times they want. You know, there's a different market for knives that have been used and for those that are mint in box.
Yeah, and then there's some new ones that are made where the knife maker just makes a handful of them, and then they're very, very collectible. Well, listen, we're going to take a few phone calls, and she brought some items. I think we're still working, trying to get the monitor on in here. It's not on in here, so we can't see it as we hold it up. Oh. But once we get that monitor working, we'll show that. But in the meantime, we have some phone calls that we can take, and just to throw this out there, you call in. She's going to give you the most honest answer she can, of course, and I've brought in items before, and many times what I like to hear you say is, Nick, that is very nice. It's not worth a lot to anyone else, but I understand it has a lot of sentimental value to you, and that oftentimes is the most valuable thing. So, you know, I know some people maybe are disappointed when they bring it up thinking they've got some priceless heirloom, and you'll always say things are priceless, but probably to that person.
It's not the dollars.
It's not always, it shouldn't always be about the dollars, if you know what I mean. All right, let's take a phone call or two before we take our first break. And you know it gets busy. We'll take as many calls from you as we can until the 9 o'clock hour. We'll start off with Jasmine. Hi, Jasmine.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good. Good morning to you.
Good morning. I have 3 prints, Broadway, from Broadway. One is Ragtime, the other, I think one with Vanessa Williams. It might have been Chicago, I'm not sure. Yeah. And I think I've got one from the Phantom show.
Phantom of the Opera?
In 99. And I'm wondering, are prints like that valuable?
Well, it's not a yes and no question, I'm afraid.
Okay.
You pretty much have to look up every print. And I do that just simply by searching on Google the name of the work and the artist. And what you're looking for is how many the artist made. So if it's limited, people may pay more to get one of them. But if there were 500 to 3,000, you know, chances are the people who wanted them already have them.
Okay.
And so that, because we can make as many prints as we want or can sell, sometimes it's not a profitable thing.
So she could go online, search that,
easily
put in that type of print. Just with her saying that, it made me think of something. Now, prints, and I understand how unique they are, they're printed out. And these days, too, they crank out a bunch of them. It's a money-making thing. Some of the prints from decades ago, maybe, they didn't make as many. Now, I'm just wondering, what about movie posters? And I'm not talking about current ones, but I'm talking about, and the only reason I ask is I have framed in my bonus room a poster, the original one, of one of my favorite movies. I'm not asking for value, really, but it's The Sting. I don't know if you remember the movie The Sting with Robert Shaw, Paul Newman, and Robert Redford. Wonderful movie, won Best Picture of the Year that year. And I actually have the original movie poster. It's not a remake that I just bought. It's from back then. I think it must have won the Oscar in the 70s. It's framed. I have no idea how many were made, but movie posters like that, and it's in very good shape. How would I check to see on that? Same way? Go online?
See who published it and how many they published.
Yeah, I know they made a lot of them because it was a movie that came out and it's one of several probably in theaters all around. But back then, that might have been before people really seriously started collecting everything. I forget even where we got it.
Well, it's a good indication, you know, that you bought it soon after the movie or during the time that it was on, so that helps.
Yeah, it's the real thing.
It may be an early publication of it.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, anything that people can sell to make money on, they will reproduce.
Yeah, oh, right. And I'm sure there are reproductions of this. So there would be a way, perhaps, and I don't know if it would be worth more if they look identical, and we're talking just a movie poster here, but mine is the real one from the 70s, and this one, which looks identical, was made yesterday. Is one worth more than the other?
You know, almost always they're marked a little bit differently.
Okay.
It may be 2 colons or, you know, something so obscure. But if you're collecting and paying big bucks for posters, you know about those things.
So you'd want the original?
Yes.
Fascinating. All right, we'll take a break on that note. When we come back, if you're on hold, stay there. We've got some lines open, 737-7587. And Connie's also brought some interesting examples of some items, I think, that she's appraised, that these may be your collection, right?
It's my stuff,
Her stuff. She's got a lot of stuff. We'll be back with more right after this. Stay with us.